Hello! Been a little while since I have recorded an update video, so I'm doing that now. What I have done is I've moved my design from the full-size breadboard to a half-size breadboard, and I've worked out the spacing a little bit more, and I had to get a different perma-proto board from Adafruit. The quarter-size boards, they're just not going to work for this. So yeah, I went ahead and I got a half-size perma-proto board from Adafruit, which will then match, what I'm going to put down there. So then I'll have, this sitting up here, resistor, fan, and then I believe I'm going to end up having my plugs kind of just sitting next to my my two potentiometers there. And one thing I did learn, thankfully, on the breadboard before I tried to assemble it on the proto board is that one of the MOSFETs that I got was actually bad. So yeah, I went through quite a bit of a time trying to figure out, how my circuit was assembled incorrectly, double checking all my wires and all my resistors and making sure everything was plugged in, exactly where it needed to be. And then lo and behold, come to find out, oh, my MOSFET wasn't working right. As soon as I switched out the MOSFET, everything started going fine. So yeah, I guess that's a bit of a lesson right there. I have to, make sure I'm being sane with my MOSFET. Or make sure my MOSFET's working. One other thing I've done is I've got a power cube that I purchased with a matching barrel jack, and so now I can run the whole thing off the mains current. And that little barrel jack here, let's see here, let me grab the power cube and tell you a little bit about it. You might have already. It's just a small little power cube. This one doesn't put out a whole lot. Let's see here. 2 amp max, yeah, but it's nominal output 13.5 volts at 0.62 amps. So pretty much by the time that gets fed through the linear regulator, I'm ending up with 12 volts at a solid half amp, and that's, good for this little circuit right here. It doesn't use anywhere near a half amp. I believe it when I was testing it, even with the fan and everything going, I was pulling maybe a quarter of an amp at peak. So my little power cube there is going to work wonderfully. So the next thing I'm going to want to do is all these bits that live off the breadboard, like my connectors here, my big resistor, my current meter, my ammeter, and my fan. What I'm going to need to do is make these compatible with my perma-proto board in a nicer fashion. Right now what I'm doing is I just have those held together with the screws. These are just resting in a plug. The resistor is being held together with gator clips, and so is my barrel jack. Well, can't really have that. So what I'm going to need to do is solder some wiring onto there, and I'd kind of like to make that wire a bit of a universal length. And then I'll be able to connect each of these components to my breadboard to make sure that they stay on there and connected permanently. I think that this breadboard is going to get butchered a little bit. I'm going to try and trim it down right along one of these lines to cut off a rail. That's because on the finalized version that I'm using here, I'm only using one rail, and I'm kind of concerned that having the potentiometers kind of sitting where they are on the breadboard, I'm not going to get the clearance I need on them to get into, well, I might. That one's going to be kind of hard to say. I might have a bit of a difficult time getting these potentiometers to reach outside of the case, because when I'm looking straight down at it, they look like they'll just about do it. So I mean, if I had some play in the on the breadboard, possibly it would work. I don't want to try fooling with that. and I already know that, you know, this is going to be kind of free hanging. So yeah, I'm not sure if I want to try and, you know, tuck that underneath still or not. Um, I am going to have to find some standoffs, of course, to make sure I can, you know, kind of lift this up a little bit. And I also don't want to have it, you know, just the potentiometer, shafts supporting the board in the case. I'm actually going to want to have some proper standoffs in there. But the next thing to do is to get this circuit on the permaproto board, and, you know, get everything soldered together so it quits falling apart, haha. And then from there, I can start thinking about the cutouts that I'm going to need to make in my project box in order to get everything to fit in there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera for now and talk to you later.